Welcome to the Everyday Sniper. You got Frank at Sniper's Hide, and I haven't done a dedicated hide tea or Sniper's Hide Everyday Sniper podcast. I haven't done an Everyday Sniper for you guys in a minute. You've all been kind of stuck on the backside of the lives. So I wanted to dedicate this podcast for you guys to the Everyday Sniper people who are listening on the podcast side. Although, understand, I am live and you can watch this YouTube, X, The Hide, and we are talking to people live wise while I'm talking to the Everyday Sniper people. So just before Labor Day, we're getting ready. So end of summer, wanted to give you a quick wrap up of everything going on and say howdy to everyone. Hold on, I got people on saying hi. Howdy, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Howdy, everybody. No, Sunday. People are asking Sunday morning. I slept in. I was kind of nuked. Did a lot on Saturday and had a bunch going on. So people are asking what happened to the Sunday morning live. It's August. People are away, and this kind of goes into the podcast. We noticed a lot of people are traveling and holidays, and they probably are listening to the podcast and things like that. But yeah, I had a really crazy week. We jumped out to the range, had to edit some video, put on the new video with Chris, and then Saturday I spent all day putting together a gas grill, pellet grill. I had a my older grill, which is actually was in good shape. What's up? In really good shape, and it died. Like the gas system died on me last week, and I could have repaired it. They have repair kits and all that. I'm like, I'm not repairing it. I want this. And Lord been asking about a smoker. So I went in on Saturday and just picked one up and, didn't want to wait in the whole thing and built it ourselves. So all day I was building the grill and all that. And then the race was on Saturday night. So the Daytona race was Saturday night, and then Sunday morning I slept in. And I decided I wasn't going to do the live on Sunday, but I'll get back into the schedule. I mean, really, the schedule was going to be Wednesday, probably Friday, and then Sunday for some of these lives. Although, like I said, I wanted to do a dedicated podcast for the Everyday Sniper people. And so I wanted to jump on today, but it was one of those deals where I kind of felt I was neglecting the dedicated podcast people. Um, and so hang on one second. I'm getting asked questions. One second. And I can go into that. That's actually a good segue for a question. So the last week, Jacob Bynum was up here. He was working the Fort Collins area with Lindy, and I loaned him some stuff, equipment they needed. On the way back through down to Texas, and this is a good question that came in. On the way down to Texas, they picked up all the swag. So two giant boxes, like 3 feet by 3 feet of packed of swag that I'm bringing to the Sniper's Hide Cup. And the question came in with the lives, because like I said, podcast guys, this runs live and you can interact with us. The question came in about a packing list, and it is going to be your precision rifle and handgun. So anything you need for that, we are going to be doing the handgun. The stages at Rifles Only aren't blind stages. They don't really have a way to make stages blind. Unless you just talk like the Kill House and some other things like that, you could put something in where somebody can't see. But packing list is you're definitely going to need, your 200 rounds for your rifle. You're going to need probably 60 to 80, figure call it 100 for your handgun, and we'll go from there. But that would be the main packing list for the Sniper's Hide Cup. That's coming up November 8th at Rifles Only. As we mentioned, that is a sort of invite where we have a list, and there are people who are, the OGs are getting priority. People we like are getting priority for the Sniper's Hide Cup. So we're doing it sort of an old school way, which says, we want to shoot with you. We don't want to shoot with you. And so that's kind of happening. But packing list, your rifle, 200 rounds, your handgun you're going to need, and then a typical match at rifles only, a game changer, rear bag. If you want to bring a tripod, I'll probably throw a tripod stage or two, but prop wise, they almost always have a front rest. So tripod would more be for behind the line and rear support if you're going to do rear support, although I may throw one or two stages in with a tripod for the blind stages. But also talking external events for my everyday sniper podcast people. I just put up today Jefferson, Ohio, Apex shooting over there. We're doing the 3-day class end of September. I think it's the 26th weekend, something like that, 24th, 26th, somewhere in there. But we are going to be in Jefferson, Ohio. I have one or two spots available. It's kind of full, but not. I can fit an extra person there. So I would say there's two spots available based on Mark's list. If you want to go to Jefferson, Ohio, it is active and live on Hyde TV right now. You can go over there and sign up for our Jefferson, Ohio class. We're taking payments and everything like that. And as I said, I have maybe two slots that I can fill for Jefferson, Ohio. Otherwise, I'm pretty full. And then right after is Major Land. And a lot of buzz and a lot of stuff. I've been getting hit up quite a bit in the last, God, 10 days about Major Land, asking if I'll be there, what's going on. I haven't made any decisions on the course. I'm doing sort of the free clinic, and I wasn't doing a paid clinic right now. It was a little different the way they change people and things, and I was helping out over there with Course of Fire and stuff. I did not put it out to do a paid clinic, but I will be doing a free clinic on Friday. Right now, maybe I can get a Thursday and do a day for people on Thursday or something, but I have not gone out to do any kind of clinic stuff for Major Land. They're growing pretty big, getting good sponsors. Everything seems to be moving forward in a positive way with Major Land. I like everything I'm seeing for that come mid-October. Laura's going to be doing the ROs and making sure the ROs are a little bit more steel match and not paper match ROs. So we will be doing that for you guys. But yeah, I mean, it's quite a bit has been going on, and then like I said, our weather's changing up. We're getting rain again, and it hasn't been over 70 really this week. Chris is away, but before we left, we started working on the 25 Creedmoor. And as I mentioned in some of these lives before, and dabbled in the podcast, maybe I wanted to go a different direction with the podcast because I completely screwed up last week. We had a great interview with Omar from Trace Ammo. And it kind of plays into the 25 Creedmoor, but it doesn't. Because he is doing calibers like dashers, and he is doing calibers that are more competition related. And so we had a really good interview with Amar. I had it set up to record for the podcast, started shuffling things around, and never hit the record for the Everyday Sniper podcast talking to Trace Ammo. And one of the things I wanted to bring to the podcast, guys, with about that interview is Omar's doing 308, which a lot of people start 5.56, 308. He's doing 6.5 Creed, but he does six dashers and a lot of these comp, 6 GT, and he does these comp calibers. Well, 308 he does for production class. And as I had been telling people with the 308, I have a really good load and I like it with the 185s. And I think modern 308 shooting, and I can go back in time, if you think about 70s into the 80s, that's when the 168 appeared. Okay, so everybody was shooting a 168, and then, the 308 coming from a 30 six starts to get its legs underneath it. From there, you go into the 90s, and then we go to a 175. And we're balancing weight and speed with these calibers, right? So 168 to the 175. And when we went to the 175, we really didn't change our speed up a lot. The old school 168s were only 2550. Well, then you go to the 175 and a good, 24, 26-inch barrel 175, they're doing 2650. Well, then, today our powders are better, our bullets are better. We can get a little bit more tight bore Bartland, not the Valkyrie, but the Gladius. The Gladius was based on a 10 twist 308 tight bore. And so that 18-inch barrel out of shooting a 175 grain bullet got right around 2,600 feet per second, right? I cut the barrel back, but I kept my speeds in that same reasonable 2650 location for a 308. And a lot of us have been pretty happy with that 26, 50 speed limit. Well, then, we start going into the super performances, the 178, and Hornady throws some speed at you. And it doesn't really work great, but it's okay. And now with the comp stuff in that there's a 308 class, Amar was doing a 169 and Lapua does the 169, right? Instead of a 175, they had the 170s I used to shoot. The 170s were amazing. I still have some of the high precision sniper 170 grain bullet that was going like 2825, 2850. They staked the primers. Well, Amar does this 169 and he gets a little more speed out of it, in there. But I was really digging going a little lighter that way with the 169 with a good speed to it. We took him out, and he's going to shoot 308 production this coming year, next year. He's got a 28-inch barrel, almost 30. I think it's even 29, almost 30. But he's got we'll call it a 28-inch barrel 308. And you don't, but you do. They do. There's something, I don't know why. We're just talking that. The 28-inch barrel, what do you gain in muzzle velocity over the speed is 22. Andrew wrote 20, but if you go back to the Houston warehouse conversation, the Houston warehouse said 22. It was actually 21 and 3/4, but 22-inch and a 308 was optimal. That balanced all your powder burn. That balanced everything you needed to get out of the bullet, pushing it internal ballistic wise versus doing it with the long barrels and stuff. So I don't know. I have to go back and see where his numbers were, but I want to say over because I shot the TAC Ops KMW, and that's a 20-inch barrel. He was I want to say 150 feet per second more than me. His 28 was that far over my 20. So muzzle velocity, I'd have to go back and watch the videos or whatever because I didn't remember. I remember my numbers were right at 2850 again with the 69, 169 in the tac ops. So I was right at 2650 with a short rifle. I want to say Chris was 150 feet per second faster with his 28. So clearly he did gain a speed advantage. And that 150 to 200 over is a bit of a number, but he was 4 tenths better than me in the wind, and we had nasty winds. Elevation, oh, I gotta go back and look at his numbers for elevation, but it wasn't like some crazy elevation number, but I wanna say it's a sustain thing. I mean, I really can't put a I mean, clearly he had more muzzle velocity, clearly there's a better number there, but on steel when we shot it, I was able to put my bullets exactly where his were, and in fact, we did have one. We shot a few shots after. Like he wanted to do something again and we reset everything, but it was like our first take was perfect and I didn't have to mess with it. But he wanted to reset something because he felt the wind was messing with his elevation. I never had an elevation issue in the wind. He shot one of the like a relay and his elevation wiggled. My tac ops didn't. So yeah, I'm kind of tracking Andrew in the questions is asking, did he have an advantage on me at 28 inches over 20? In the numbers, technically yes. In the results, no. And I know that 2 relays of doing it, he had 1 round that went up and I didn't, and he changed it and I didn't, and we stacked in the same spots, but he had less wind, and that was it. He had about 4 to 5 tenths less wind than I did at 6 and 800 yards. But elevation, I don't remember how much better he was elevation with the 150 feet. I'd have to go back and look. But I wanted to say like our Mars numbers, and he doesn't want to stand behind the numbers we have on our rifles, but that's real world. And his numbers were really good. Everything so far we've shot from trace ammo has been eights or better from all our rifles. How did you? Yeah, so I want to. So I'm reading that. How are you getting like just saying? So here's a question because we're in this 308. One of the Andrew on here for the podcast people. Andrew, how are you getting a 655 out of a 175? Is it a solid? Because I mean, you can put a number on a bullet, but so he's reporting he got 175s with a G1 of 655. That's got to be a solid. Um yeah, what you need to hit me on Sniper's Hide with all the details. So he's saying I just got my 175's G1 of 655. If I can get 2650 or 2600 out of a 16-inch, the data shows Alco. Alcos are solid, right? Or are they semi-solids? Yeah, well, I have a 7 Wisdom, and in Alaska there's a lot of 300 Wisdoms. Um, yeah, it takes anyway. So I got a couple people bringing. I don't understand that. But yeah, I don't is it just the speed? They are solids, okay. Yeah, solids, I could see that, and so then you could put them in a Magnum, and solids are meant to push harder. Um, uh, so yeah, a solid I have to go back, I don't remember what the Warner Tools it's crazy with numbers, how you put some numbers for 308, so this would align with sort of a Warner flat line, um, 308s, the 180, the 160, the 175, they're semi-solids. Okay, good. And yes, solids if they weren't so expensive, which is crazy. I've talked about this on this podcast forever. Solids are the answer to so much. It's just they cost so much. Nobody really loads them. You have to load them yourself in most cases. A couple people dabbled in loading solids, and the numbers scared people, price, number, cost wise. But solids are so good when it comes to what you can do. They've almost become that proof of concept where if they can create, you know, it would almost be interesting if you can create like, or is the numbers the same dollar wise, like how they tip them, right? So you got a plastic tip, you got a tip with a metal tip, and let's call it, an eighth inch of tip. It would be crazy if you could take it and make a third of it a tip. And then, like, the most aerodynamic part tipped. Is that eighth enough? Yeah, I've shot a ton of solids. I shot solids religiously forever. Um and yeah, solids are evil because you push them. I shot solids at Gunsight. I shot solids ELR. I helped with Flatline. I did the BC on the 180 and the 160s. I'm a huge, huge fan of solids. But like I said, the cost of them, if there was a way to get a solid into the price structure that was a little more universally accepted. And the crazy thing is the way the ammo prices have gone up today, you'd almost think, can you leapfrog a solid in there? But then the guy's gonna up the price on the bullet itself, and as the powders, primers, and brass have gone up, if the solids say stayed the same, oh, they absolutely are, because you could push them so much more and they don't tip and spin. Solids are amazing. But yeah, the chat is now talking about the solids for the podcast people. And yeah, solids can do so much more. You can reduce frictions with driving bands and things. You make them long, pointy, short, fat, and the weight and the mass carries better. There's even like Fort Scott Munitions sells a 260 hunting solid at a reasonable price. I keep threatening I'm going to buy some, but they're not advertised necessarily as a match solid, but they're pretty close to a solid, and Fort Scott Munitions sells them in 260. I'm really interested in seeing how they carry as a match bullet, but they advertise them as a hunting bullet. And a solid is a solid as a solid, you know what I mean? And so it's crazy, and it's funny too, like he's talking shrapnel. Like when I went to gun sight and we shot ELR with them, they just make the dime and then drop on the ground. And like Corey over there had a bunch of them, and he was like, "Here's your dimes," because they go and they mush and they dime, and then they just drop. Back, what was it? Southwest Precision. Who there was a Arizona company making ammo and they went under. They were kind of like came up about the same time as Copper Creek, and they were making either semi-custom loads or, loaded ammo. And I'm a huge 260 fan. I have a ton of them. In fact, all my Tikas here are 260. I have a bunch of Tikas that are in Cadexes and stuff. They're all 260. I have a AI that's been a 260 forever. Gardner redid it. But I have a bunch of 260s. And So yeah, it's they used to make a semi-loaded, and they sold 338 solids, and I took those to Gunsight. They sold a bunch of solids for a while, and then they went under, the whole bad management, giving away their margins for hand loading weren't there. And so they kind of had the Copper Creek idea, but didn't follow through. They sold solids loaded a bunch because they partnered with like Steve Damron and guys who are making solids. I have a solid from Noel Carlson for a 338 Norma that I had a barrel made for it. It was a 13 to 5 twist. So started at a 13, ended at a 5, and shot a solid that was like 2.5 inches long. Cause that's the game, really, like with twist straight and stuff, it's length more than weight. And so there's a length component to that. And so to do this 338 Norma solid they were trying, that was the one that used the paste from the Bushmasters, the 25 millimeters. And there was a paste that was used, and I put it on. And so, yeah, there was all that stuff was there and doing its thing. And so, for sure, I'm a huge solid fan. But 338, you do a 175 solid with a 6BC. God dang, if you shoot production and get a big, like that's the one you dabble and um you dabble in the 308 solid world with that, because it's got to be kind of expensive. You go in and you shoot a match and qualify for the finale with your solid. Then you like pick 2 matches to practice with solids, but in between you shoot factory or something just to keep your skills up. Then go to the finale with your solids again. So I could see somebody. The only bitch is though, you shoot that 308 production class, you invest in solids and you smoke people and you do really well in it, and then they don't give a shit because you're not open. So you don't get the accolades for podium as a subclass, because only the open people get the accolades. So that becomes the bitch. I'm so upset that, speaking bullets here, I am upset today that they broke the 338 how they did. And I've been seeing swirlings of people wanting to bring 338 back. And it's like, you friggin' bastards, you broke it. And now you're going to bring it back after you threw everybody to the Norma, to the 300 Norma. You ruined 338 Lapua. You pushed everybody to 300 Norma, and now you want to bring back Lapua? It's like, what are you guys thinking? All right, so Andrew's got a stupid question. In a bolt gun world, everybody keeps talking about action length. Mini, large, short. What's the advantage? Well, long one, short action because it's quicker, shorter throws and quicker. So he's asking a bolt action question. And like Terminus, so personally, looking at where we are today with switch caliber, mediums, like a Tika is a medium. Remington 700 is a short, and then we all know, yeah, they did break 300, but I never liked the 300. A PRC's better. And so a short action, it's fast and tight with those little calibers, right? You're going to move fast. And now he has short throw, right? They don't but for a loaded bullet, let's picture like PRC. I have my Terminus, and I can shoot a 6.5 PRC out of my short action Terminus. What Joel Russo had to do to get that to work right is open up the ejection port on each side, because if I want to pull a loaded bullet out, I can mag feed stuff. Then I chamber it. Up, I don't want to shoot it. Getting it out becomes a question. Then loading it longer, right? It's like a 260 is a good example of people who wanted to load long. So take a 308 and put a really long bullet in it because the case of a 260 is a 308. But now you're necking it down and put a longer bullet than a 308. Well, what killed the 260 was they would chamber it, have a shorter chamber, pull that long loaded bullet out, it would bite, they dump all their powder. So then 6.5 Creed comes in. 6.5 Creed is shorter than a 260. Load that 264 bullet longer. Chambers are different and all of that. And so people were happier with a shorter cartridge in a short action doing longer things. Now, go to a medium action like a Tikka, and then guys were trying to hot rod 260s for a while. They were, juicing them, Ackleying them. Terry Cross shot a 260 Ackley forever. And so a little bit longer helps you do some things that make 260s phenomenal. Well, then you go and, like I said, you want to switch caliber to the short action magnums, the Wisms, and the cartridges like that, longer, fatter. So that's why they went short and fat with a Wism instead of long. So they changed a bunch of the stuff. So it's pretty crazy that they're trying to kind of shoehorn some things. No, not over a PRC over a 300 Win Mag. But honestly, um they do shoot a lot of 300 PRC over the Norma. Like the Navy. If you want to go into the Navy guys, like if you go to Major Land, so Major Land's coming up in October, there are a lot of tricky teams at Major Land. A lot of the unnamed guys will be there. Your SEALs, your Army, your all those dudes come to Major Land and they work as a team together. That's why if you look at my pictures, you'll see some pretty Gucci military gear. And it's like, well, that's weird, right? It's not comp gear, it's military gear. The Navy shoots the 300 PRC over the Norma. If you go to an Army guy with a Barrett, he's got a 300 Norma. Go to a Navy guy, he's got a PRC. So they do switch between the 300 Norma and the 300 PRC. It depends who you're talking to. So they do interchange that, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. I don't sleep on a PRC. I think a 300 PRC is nice. It's a lighter recoil. It's the Norma's better. The Norma on paper, it's bigger, longer. It's like 50 feet per second better. I think if you do a 250 in a Lapua 338, a Lapua 338 is fine with, 285s are lighter. You can't go over 285 grain bullets in a 300 or 338 Lapua. So you're going right. And think about this. This is the craziness. Same case, Norma Lapua, but neck down to 30. They go 230, 215. 338, they want to go 300. That's what broke Lapua. If you stayed in the 250 or lighter, 285 or lighter, 338 Lapua would be the king of the hill right now, and nobody be mentioning a Norma. The Norma would be Europe only. But because they went to 300 grain bullet, they broke 338. So I don't know. I just had a weird text anyway. So that's kind of what's going on with that. I think like they broke certain things trying to do stuff. I mean, it's just like I mentioned a whole bunch of times the ARC stuff, like the ARC world. is going to succeed. 22 arc, which was they were trying to do the Valkyrie, right? The Valkyrie was the precursor to the 22 arc. So they were trying to, find something that made it whoever happy. And that's where your bolt faces are changing, but at the end of the day, all of them are still pushing the 22 caliber bullet the same. Now they downloaded the Valkyrie, which broke it, and they brought the arc up to a more reasonable load. But the Valkyrie will do the loads no problem. They just killed it in the way they were doing that. So anyway, that's where that tends to be is that they break stuff, they go too heavy. It's like, "Oh, I have a problem to solve." "Oh, if you put this bullet in there, you could shoot across the street and break a hole through the building." But then when you go shoot far, it doesn't work. And they didn't say, "Well, we needed this for across the street." They just go, "Oh, this is great." And it wasn't. And it slowly fell off. And then the next thing you know, the Norma comes up. And so uh they hang on a second. I got a forward Texas. Uh, hang on. Got it. So just checking. Sorry, I'm getting work related text messages, and it was just like, patient will help you. Exactly. That's why I knew you would have experience. Yeah, and it was crazy because we were at Rifles Only. So w- w- yeah, I'm on the 25. The 25 impressed me. I didn't think at first, like, looking at it on paper. So they're asking if I'm on the 25. I am very impressed with the 25. I have it. I shot it. And then when I shot it, I was like, "What?" Cuz I expected it to be a 6.5 Creedmoor with a 136 bullet, and it wasn't. It was way better, flatter. It did everything better, and I was surprised how well it was. A full point better than a 6.5. So you can't argue that. You can't argue the numbers, you can't. And I have that 25, I have that 25 Creedmoor put together and all that in the Vision chassis, and I was like, uh yeah, the 25. Yep, I can see that. He's saying the top 100 people he knows in PRS are switching to 25 from 6 mil. Makes perfect sense. I mean, don't get me wrong, I want new bullets, but please, please, please don't make a bullet over a 136. Maybe a 138, maybe. But don't, and this is the exact conversation we're having, right? Like creating these rounds and then them deciding they want a heavy. "Oh, this 25 Creedmoor is great. Let's put a 156 bullet in it." Why? It's phenomenal with a 134. I mean, when I saw that 134 perform, like, Mark shoots a 6.5 by 47. Mark's religious with the Cinar L 136 out of a 6.5 by 47. So I'm expecting that. It wasn't. It was so much better. And like I said, a full point over that. So if you take a 136 out of a 6.5 something and compare it to a 25 134 ish, there's no comparison. It was like, holy cow. Yeah, I mean, that's got to be. Well, I mean, guarantee then we're gonna see it, or is it already out, a 25 GT? Did they did they already do a 25 GT or no? Oh, I hadn't seen if that's the because that's gotta be cropping up next. I mean, that's just a 46 case. So if they're doing the 25 by 47, a 25 by 46 factory's gotta be, unless they're just gonna do the Creedmoor. So if they're just going to do 25 Creedmoor, which I guess if Hornaday already invested in the Creedmoor, they won't do the GT, which is kind of weird, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they're doing it cuz I mean, I know they got 22 GT, 20, and all that. Honestly, the Dasher is the dumbest fucking thing on the planet. The brass is dumb. It doesn't you got to modify mags, you're spending extra money. Why on earth would you want that Dasher infrastructure? I guess if you already have the Dasher infrastructure, it makes sense. But yeah, I mean, a 243 next to a 25 would be a 25 Creedmoor. So just use a 243 brass, neck it, and put a 25 bullet in it, and you got a 25 Creedmoor. 243 is so cheap. It's kind of crazy more people aren't either downloading it or doing something with a 243 because it is super, super inexpensive. But they call it 243, so nobody wants to go near it, and they think the barrel is that. But yeah, I really think the 25 is good. I honestly like the 6 arc. I think the 6 arc, there's a lot there, but I guess the 22 arc can replace it. Um, you know, I'm gonna be bopping more 6 arc in a little bit. I was just thinking about that today. That I like where I'm at finding my 6 arc legs, and I've settled on the 103, 108, and 80. I had higher hopes for the 105 black load. Not a fan of it at all. So that to me would be plinking ammo over anything. But if you wanted performance, like out of the gas gun, Andrew was talking the gas gun earlier. If you want performance, you're going to do the 80 grain. Out of the bolt gun, I I like where the 103 and 108 are equally, but it's weird. The 103, and I got to get more 103 in. The 103 is supposed to be 50 feet per second faster than the 108. It's not out of my rifle. It's the same, if not 10 feet slower. So it makes, yeah, the Dasher's dumb. It makes the the 108 better because of the speed. So on paper, on the box, I should be able to do more with the 103. But in the real world, the 108 works better. Now the 80 just rocks. The 80 does everything. The 80 is just a laser and speed wins, unless you're trying to balance a speed puff hit. But I think the 25 does that. Yeah, I'm not a why. The 6 but yeah, but why that right? So he's talking the 6 millimeter max. They are never going to factory the 6 millimeter max. It's a wildcat. It's just like when they did the SLR, and this is like the third max, isn't it? Um, it's kind of silly to me. I have no want for a 6 max. The arc world is already establishing in itself in the AR world, and they're happy. And you could put an 80 grain arc through any of that, and you're going to get your numbers back. You don't need the max. And we've proved with like the 80 and the 100 grain, inside 1,000, you can't beat it, even if the numbers are silly. You know what I mean? Inside 1,000, like Chris is really making it where you can see where these speed numbers come in the 100, the 80s, those really fast varmint loads are making up a lot of ground before 1,000. And the varmint loads aren't falling off until 1,000. So anything you're doing inside 1,000, the varmint loads are doing faster and flatter. Now, yeah, if I take a 108 that or something and say, okay, if I six max a 108 and then compare it to an arc 108, yeah, it'll win. But if I say, okay, I'm not going to shoot the arc 108, I'm going to shoot the 80s, I gain all that back in a lot of ways. So I don't know. I mean, I get it. I mean, have have reloading press will travel. The question is like the Dasher world. Everybody went the fight like it was out of sheer stubbornness. They went with the Dasher. They refused to be defeated. But it didn't work in the beginning. It didn't feed right. It didn't the necks were too short. I mean, that's why the GT. They had a whole book report written when they did the 6 GT why the Dasher was inferior in more money in the effort. Now, they standardized the effort. They convinced you to spend more money, but they told you before that this was a bad and it was to me it was sheer stubbornness. I mean, they wanted to do the 6 Creed. They burnt out one too many barrel. So then they went back down to something that didn't burn the barrel out, saved them 500 rounds, one match more. And yet the top guys are still changing their barrel that often. So it became a game of smoke and mirrors because they created a marketplace to make the Dasher work. So the marketplace was filled with their friends. So you fed their friends within the marketplace, but it was like a bad market to begin with. I don't know. I think 5 years from now you won't see it. It'll get priced out like somebody said. Cuz I'm convinced you can do everything with a Dasher with an arc. Just reload it, you know? So, I don't know. It's to me, it's that craziness, but it's like, liking it's all full circle. So it's like, okay, 308 isn't going anywhere because 308 is infinitely established, and we keep bouncing bullets. 175, oh, 168 tipped, a 185. Now we're down to a 169, but a little different speed. I mean, that's just like with my load, it's 2000 MR. It's not the traditional vargets and powders that we used, and that's kinda where they go with with the Wildcat stuff too. They just, "Oh, I'm not gonna use the powder, I'm not gonna use H4350 that they're using over here to get 2800. I'm gonna use this to get 2850 with less." And so they save 5 grains of powder. They get 50 feet per second more, and it's a different burn kind of deal. And if people can do that, and that's where, like, to me, the everybody who jumped on the Creedmoor, the 6 Creedmoor, and then was, "Oh, it's too fast." Okay, it is. It's very fast. But if you're a reloader and you're going to do these matches anyway, download it. Don't put 45 grains of powder in there, 43 or whatever number. I don't reload 6 Creed. I don't know what they use, but call it 45. Don't put 45 powder of this in, put 38 and get your speed where you want it. Okay, normally it's going 3,200 feet per second. I'm going to download it and make it go 2,900 feet per second. I'm going to download it and do 2,850. I won't nuke my barrel as much. I'm not going to beat my brass up as much. Oh, I got it. That's a good question. So, a good question came up, guys, in the chat. Like I said, podcast people, the chat is where it's at, man. In the Hide added chat, the Hide added a whole bunch of stuff. All right. Where do you have on the best practice of locking in the ball head? Go to, yeah, Chris did a video and it's called Clipped In or Bag. And it's having him alternate between a game changer and clipping in. And really, it's kind of a drop in finding that balance point. And because of the ARCA, we just lay it on and then lock it, you know? So I tend to find clipping in is a little easier, because especially because my hand is small. And so grabbing a game changer, the rifle, and everything together tends to not be easy for me. Some rifles are easier than others. Some handguards and tools are easier than others, but I still have a small hand. And so grabbing everything that way on a bag isn't always optimal for me versus clipping into a tripod. So, for sure there's videos. We do have it, and if you watch us, we just drop it on and clip it, but I don't find a struggle when I do that. Maybe it's a guide hand, shooter. Maybe you need to guide the rifle to where you're clipping it and make sure your hand on the stock goes to the ball head and guides it and then clips in one motion. So it might be that for you, that you need to focus on your support hand and how it comes holding the rifle to the tripod and then to the head controls. So, so the question for that is coming in. But yeah, guys, I mean, for our podcast people, the interaction is great. The comments are good. You know, we got a crowd of people on in the middle of the day who are coming on and, you know, asking questions and interacting with us through the sites, through the social media. Eastern sniper rifles are optic. A little bit. They're really, yeah, the Eastern stuff is very Cold War. Um uh and I did shoot that Ritter and Stark, which was a Russian gun rebranded in Austria, and they use the Russian barrel system. So the question's in if I shot any Eastern sniper rifles, like SV-98, you know, anything like that, and I have, and I don't like them. I think they're crappy. Where they fall down is in sustained rate of fire. And so they wander and walk and they don't have this the barrel tech is not there for them. And so their barrels wander and walk as they get hot. They're like the ultimate definition of the 1970s myths and legends of our rifles. So I would say take a 1975, every single old wives' tale about a bolt action rifle you can think of. That's a modern Eastern rifle. You know, I mean, I'm sure there's exceptions and they have a few that are pretty good, but everyone I've shot so far has been awful. And like I said, they tried to submit that Russian gun under an Austrian flag, and it was terrible. So, whatever. And that was their modern stuff, you know. And it just wandered and walked in the SDs. Um, you know, March is. Asking about the March PRS scope. I never, oh, there was always March people around, and down at Rifles Only, like Jacob Godfreyson and Turk, who was an editor, they were March people. Turk was from Japan. He was the editor of like a Japanese have crazy gun magazines because they can't have guns. So he was very big deal and but mostly bench rest. And so I do have a march here. I don't even know where it is right now. I have a march somewhere and I've misplaced it. Um and so I do have a march. I don't know where it is. I've used it recently and Chris may even have it on something. Um but I think March it is they claim things that to me I don't see in other scopes, and it's like you're paying $500 more for this, and it's like show me that over here because they're bench rest people, so they claim movement in everything you do, and oh well, yeah, and I can see that. I know they're new in this stuff, and like I said, March has a lot of desirable. Like on paper, I like other than the Genesis, I thought the Genesis was silly. On paper, though, marches are kind of cool. In real life, it's like, why'd I spend an extra 1,500 for that? Ooh, mag range. Do I need a 10 times erector? Nah. Do I want a 1 to 10 like that? You know what they're doing. I would think they bet you they have the same glass as the Zeiss S3s. I bet you they're doing the same thing as the Zeiss from Japan. The Zeiss in Mirage is like next level. And I've had a million people because we'll have Mirage out at distance. So they're saying that the March cuts through Mirage. The Zeiss does too. And I've had a lot of people want to see because we all run Zeiss's here. Laura does, I do. I'm running Zeiss more than pretty much any of them lately. And I bet you March just went to the same place Zeiss did the S3 and is using Zeiss's package. I'd have to see it, but yeah, March is very desirable. I just the extra money doesn't do it for me, so I won't spend the money on a March just because I don't. I always felt their sales pitches were something that they couldn't replicate to show me. Show me that problem. And, oh, I'll get you a millet and they'll show it on a millet. And it's like, well, yeah, that's a $300 millet. Show me on this $3,000 scope that it's doing that to justify 4,000 for you. And they never can. So that's kind of where I always went. But I don't get me wrong. I think a March is a very nice scope. It's kind of like buying, it's me with a Porsche. Why? Right? I can absolutely buy a Hyundai. I could buy a Chevy, you know, or like Volkswagen, I guess. I can go in and buy an Atlas or I can buy an Audi. They're made in the same place. Do I want to pay Volkswagen Atlas money or Audi money? And that's a choice, and that's fine. I mean, I made the choice. And I get it. The new one, I should get behind the new one. And so what is the retail on the new March? What is the on the one you're talking? What's the is it the 5 to something? Is that the one you're talking? Give me the details on the March so I go look it up. Maybe I'll just go grab one. Yeah, right. My buddy had the Camaro. My buddy had he had a pace car from Lime Rock or Thompson, one of them, and he liked it. He dug the Camaro. Now, granted, today he's driving a Porsche, but he had a Camaro from Lime Rock. And so yeah, it's the okay, 5 to 42 Gen 2 PRS. Okay, I can remember that. I knew it was a 5 to something, but they have like a 5 to 25 and then the 5 to 40. I mean, because I think the 8 by 40 Zico is probably one of the best scopes made. Brandon Rudge. Who's Brandon Witt? Who's Brandon Witt? Uh, no, I run Zeiss's a lot, and then the Zicos. I do run a ton of Zicos. I run my 4 to 20s a lot. I like the size. The funny thing, I just put my Zico 5 or 4 to 5. What is it? 5 to 30, 5 to 20, 4 to 27, whatever the number is. I just put my 27 power Zico back on something. It's on the 308 that I was shooting. I did not shoot the 27 power Zico for a while. I was running the Zeisses over it and doing that. But yeah, I'm a big Zico guy. Zico and Zeiss. And then the night forces fill in the rest. I do like my Colossus, but I don't have any new Colossus. But if you're gonna ask me, I'm a Zico, I'm a Zeiss, and then filling in any blank, I'm Night Force right now. And then I did buy a couple Leopolds only for the weight, and there was a couple things going on I needed to demo. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I own a March. I have one. I don't know where it is. I want to say I gave it to Chris on a Weatherby to shoot, and I don't think he gave it back. But I own a March. I have one, and I just never saw the hype, man. And so to me, the Zico 8 to 40, and that was the other thing. It's like that's 5 to 42. I said to like when I was at dinner, and Zico had only come out with the 5 to 27. The 4 to 20 was on the horizon, and there wasn't any um one bad staying on the hide. All right, I'm gonna copy that. And I'm at dinner at Shot with them, and they said to me, "Well, we have the 5 to 20, we have the 4 short, ultra short. Where do you think we're gonna go next?" I said 8 to 40. And they looked at me like, "Why would you say that?" I said, "No one needs low end anymore. Who's on the low end other than the military and law enforcement? Why on any planet would I want to go below 8 power in a bolt gun?" And so, it's like I want that middle to be better and those other ones. Okay, well, I mean, that's if you're saying that, they're throwing some bold claims, podcast people, on the March scope, the 5 to 42, and they're throwing some bold claims against the Zico. I mean, it might be worth looking at. I'm gonna see what the retail is on it. Like I said, I'm not spending 4 grand on a March. You get me one for 3 and I'll think about it. But if this is 4 grand for a Japanese scope, nah. Nah, I'll pay that for a German scope, but I doubt I'd pay 4 grand for a Japanese one. But let me look and see what it is. But yeah, I mean, you're throwing some bold claims. It sounds pretty impressive. And is it just the PRS hype machine to have the new latest and greatest like the tangents? What did a JTAC tangent bring to the table to spend $4,500 on? To me, a tangent doesn't bring anything to the table for that. I didn't see it like because that's the tangent hype. Are we talking tangent hype because they're not saying saying the PRS crowd's not exaggerating about a new toy is kind of funny. But yeah, I get it. We'll see. But yeah, it's that's the whole thing. It's the Jay Allen, because it was the most expensive stock. I'm gonna give it to you at a deal, and I'm gonna tell everybody it's the greatest stock to shoot it with. And then it's this, and then it's that. That's funny. Yeah, it's yeah. If you go to, but anyway, So that's where it's at. So we did an hour with you guys, podcast guys. I'm gonna kill the podcast guys and let you go. Podcast people, thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being part of the Everyday Sniper. I'm gonna give you your hour. I'm telling you, the lives are where it's at. You can play them through the hide. You can go over that. The interaction with the people on the lives, the back and forth that we have. I mean, it's fun because I'm a squirrel, change direction, talk about weird shit anyway. And so the podcast people being able, or the live people being able to jump in and squirrel me, it makes it fun because it never goes in the same direction I plan it. And so it's like, oh, squirrel, let's go over here now. And I'm like, oh shoot. But I'm gonna stay on the live for a minute, but I'm gonna kill the podcast because they're right. I'm gonna kill you guys right around. I'm 110. I'm 106 right now. But yeah, I mean, we enjoy it. The podcast stuff is on the Hide TV as well. I do upload that things, and I'm going to upload this today. But the lives are on social media. If you're one of those guys, you could just listen to it on there through your phone, through the site. You can watch the video. Sometimes I have people on. Like I said, the Trace Ammo one with Amar is really good just to see where Trace is because he's a semi custom doing loads. He'll make you dashers, right? If you don't want to load your dasher, but you bought one, he'll make it for you because everybody knows it's stupid anyway. So, that, 5 miles for the money. It sounds like, yeah, Night Force, man. Night Force. He's asking what optic should he buy for the money. Um, I mean, a lot of those guys shoot that attacker 5 to 25. And if you're going to shoot ELR, do a second focal plane Night Force. And then if you need more elevation in the reticle, you just half the power and you double your reticle. And second focal planes are more forgiving recoil wise. They're more durable design than a front focal plane. So you're more apt to break a front focal plane. And on a big ELR gun, than a second focal plane. On top of that, the second focal plane gives you additional reticle, half the power. Now you're doubled your reticle and you can shoot farther. So in an ELR gun, a second focal plane makes a lot of sense, you know. So yeah, a second focal plane attacker or something to that effect would be where I would go, you know, because you can then do a lot with it to go further like you intend. You know, to me, that's kind of the direction I would go with that. In a way, like with the taco units, the Charlie Terex, and in the scopes like that, then you can set the rifle up for marksmanship, let the tools do the work, and you don't have the crazy base, the crazy head, the crazy silliness, and then you let the prisms and the optics work as they're intended versus pinning them in a weird place. You know, you don't have a crazy camp built into it. Yeah, some companies do custom reticles, not anymore. They used to do custom reticles. Everybody I'm talking to, I was kind of just looking at that. It's like less is more for reticles once you learn it. And I was just kind of looking at some things this morning and that popped in my head where in the early days, a lot of us at Rifles Only, because we were Horus people, I wasn't, but Jacob and Lindy were, Horus guys and Rifles Only taught Horus before anyone else until we dropped them. Well, once they kind of got in with the Horus and they were used to it, as the targets got smaller because they were moving faster, became harder to see. And so the guys who had experience with with the horse reticle wanted less. And so then it was always like, well, who will make me a reticle with just this and not this? And in fact, Chris just had the conversation on the live the other day. He just wanted a center dot and then like this 3 mil box in something like that, just for reference. But that's a whole nother topic. All right, Everyday Sniper Podcast people, thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being a part of the Everyday Sniper. I'm going to stay on the live for a minute, but I'm going to kill the podcast feed. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you. Hop over to the Hide. Ohio is active if you want to get on that. The Ohio class is up and running. You can sign up for Ohio. End of September. Talk to you guys soon. All right, that's out. All right, guys, I'm still on. I just killed the podcast. I wanted to stop that for a little bit so I wasn't recording for hours and hours and hours on the podcast. But yeah, I mean, the March, and I'll go into a little more kind of silly conversation. I never was behind the March hype. They made big, bold claims. They kind of did this, it's microscopic, but maybe the new one's good. I'd want to compare it to the Zeiss because I do feel the Zeiss kills Mirage and does a lot of good things for me. So I'd want to look at it compared to that as well. My 8 to 40, I think, is a pinnacle of optics. Currently right now, I think that 8 to 40 is our platinum. And so I wouldn't mind checking out the March, but it's one of those things. I guess I could pull it up really quick and let me see if it says what the price is. Let's see here. March Gen 2 PRS. There we are. Up. No, I don't want that. I'm trying to see who they got promoting it. Moondog. I don't know who Moondog is. He's promoting a lot of it. A lot of it on Sniper's Hide. Tons of conversation on it on Sniper's Hide. Sniper's Hide. Most of the conversations on the March. Here, Euro has it. I'll see what they're selling it for. I am over 18. Where's the Gen 2? I don't see it. March Gen 2. Oh yeah, it's $4,200. I don't know if I want. I mean, if they have another, but that's saying that's the Gen 2 5 to 40. Is it 5 to 40 or 5 to 42? I don't see the PRS, but it's still $4,000. See, in the world where stuff should be going down, they just want way too much money. Yeah, I see 5 to 40. I don't see the 42, so I'm not sure if um that's a metric ton of money for them. Wait, let me see. What are you saying? Hang on, I missed that. The problem in my experience with March was that, yeah, they had a terrible eye box, finicky parallax. Right, the parallax was microscopic to touch. I guarantee you, this is the. Yeah, I was just looking at the price. Yeah, I'll get a hold of Brandon, and I can, like I said, I can buy one. I don't care about that part. Is not the problem. It's just, do you want to buy it to see this hype and then figure out? Yeah, they're $1,000 more money than they need to be. In my mind, they were like $1,200, right where that retail is. They were $1,200 more than they should be compared to any scope out there. And that's how I always felt with March. They were overpriced. And then, like you're saying, for years, it's like March, March, March. We're the bench rest clarity. We're the high erector, mag range. We're this, we're that. All the finest bench rest people use it. And then you get their tactical ones, and the parallax, it's like a 16th of an inch and you're out of whack now and you can't see anything. You move your head like a 16th of an inch to the side. You're shadowing and you can't see anything. And and it doesn't matter. It's like if I'm on 25, it does that. If I'm on 15, it does that. And it's like, well, what am I getting here? Because this erector mag range is so crazy that the eye box doesn't work right. I guarantee they went to the same spec as Zeiss for the and the Zeiss one is $2,400 and this one's 42. And I guarantee that the Zeiss S3 and it are probably the same friggin' insides because they're made in the same place. It's not like they're made somewhere different, but I don't know. I'll try one. I'll see it. But it's all and it takes us full circle back to the calibers, right? Six Creed, six Creed, six Creed. Oh no, that's a little too much. Six GT's better. 6 GT. Oh, but I'm Dasher still, and all the Dashers in there because I need this. No, 25 Creed, 25 Creed. Oh, but let's do six Max. The six Max will counter the 25 Creed. So you're going to get all these camps that then want to sell you on this stuff, right? George's camp with the GT world because they want to sell you the brass. You know, JTAC's camp with the tangent in this. And so that camp's going to sell you this stuff. George's camp is going to sell you this stuff. Whoever, maybe Stuteville's camp is selling you on something else, wherever they're going. And so then you end up with all these camps from the same four people, right? The GA, I guess Foundation, Impact, and CB or was it CRB are all the same now. So you see them coalescing. And then Area 419's camp, right? So those guys, and then George's guys, and then Foundation and Impact's guys. And you see these camps now competing for gear dominance as well. Well, my people did better using this. And well, my people did better using this. And, we're making a new difference using this. And it's like, okay, did you, and I mean, the mere fact that they're not manipulating the matches and more than one are getting cleaned. How many are they up to now cleaning the either Kyle or Envy Laser, those guys? How many matches have been cleaned so far? This year, wasn't it 3 that they've cleaned? I'm not 100% sure, but 2 or 3 I heard about. Only no, I know more than one has been cleaned. Isn't there more than one 2-day has been cleaned? Wasn't there 2 in Texas alone? And one in like Alabama? I was hovering around 3 have been cleaned. See, but that's the ridiculousness. Is that they're not changing it back. It was worded to me 3 have been cleaned. Now maybe they're mixing in 1 days and 2 days. But yeah, that's just ridiculous. And so what's the point of ratcheting up gear when, they're cleaning these meatball matches and they're manipulating the way things are shot? I'd rather spend all this money and try all the latest greatest like this and go shoot a Eric Cortina thing on video. Hey Eric, let me go shoot your blackjack challenge with this Gucci gear and see how it does. I think you'd get more traction doing that than going to a match, as far as whatever a meatball match. It's the Southeast. But yeah, I do like the 25s though. I think the 25 world, we need more bullets. We need a little bit more variety in bullet, but I do think the 25 is a way to go. And honestly, I'm fine with them settling in on a 6 mil. I'm not a Dasher fan. I'd rather a GT or an Arc in world. I think the Dasher's dumb, but I mean, it's got to be priced right for people. Yeah, they did that. They made the Blackjack Sierra did originally, and then he couldn't afford to keep Sierra going. Um, Probably really good. I wouldn't do a 16-inch barrel. I would do an 18. But yeah, Sierra did make 25 the Blackjack before That was who was making it, so I'm sure they just jumped right in. But the blackjack guy, like I said, was at a 135. I'm pretty sure that was coming out of Sierra's house. I need to call them. I work with not work, but Sierra advertised with me, and at SHOT Show, I went to their ballistician and brought him gravity ballistics, and they were really interested in gravity ballistics for the back of a box of ammo because I had done mock-ups on ammo boxes, and Sierra was one of them that I did, and I need to get back in touch with them because I dropped the ball. But that's kind of what I should do with Mark is sick Mark back on him and say, "Hey, dude, you're the gravity ballistics guy. Go call. You're sitting home, you know, half a leg and half a arm. Get on the phone and call up these people I already touched base with about gravity ballistics." Because honestly, 2 out of 3 were interested in the mock-ups that we did. It's like I can even pull one up because I had them saved in my favorites. Um, and yeah, so right here, we mocked up the back of a box of ammo with gravity ballistics on it and how to do that instead of inches a drop or something like that. That one's a little hard to see. Let me get a different one. Here, there's the Sierra right there. There's the Sierra one right there. But yeah, the little square there is gravity ballistics for a box of ammo. So you can dope your rifle doing the gravity ballistics on a box of ammo. And um but I wouldn't do 16 is really short. I would do something like a 6 arc or a 22 arc if you wanted a 16-inch gun. 18 personally is about as low as I want to go with some of these calibers. But don't get me wrong, a caliber with speed, like a 100 grain 6.5 Creed, is going to fly out of a 16-inch. An 80 grain is going to fly out of a 16-inch. Um, the Arc 80 grain out of an 18-inch was going 2890 for me. So my 18-inch Bear Creek 6 arc with an 80 grain bullet was 2890. That's going to go forever. That's a number. And you're shooting a 6 mil and it's just going to be where it goes. But I mean, I think those arcs and those shorty things like that are made for that short stuff. The varmint loads and the 100 grain loads. And yeah, if you're going 3,000 feet out of a big gun, um, you're going to get a solid number out of a little gun, right? It's and that's kind of where that goes. But for sure, it's definitely one of those things. And a 16-inch 308, that's kind of like the Alaskan Parks and Recs guys carried those 16, 18, 16-inch Rock Rivers, I want to say, because of bears, because Parks and Rec guys carried gas gun 308s and they were like 16-inch shorties and 308. But yeah, I mean, I shot up to a 12-inch 308 with a POF and we shot it to 600 yards. Jacob may still have it. And yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is the arcs and the like a 22, the sixes, and you do all that. You absolutely they're meant for that short stuff. But where the difference is the energy. The 308 is going to give you the energy where the arc's not. And that's why I like the Parks and Rec guys. But yeah, I mean, today in 2025, I would be in the arc world with something that short, 16 or less. Um, no, I love like I said, I think a 22-inch arc is money. I have a 20-inch barrel for my Terminus in an arc, and then I have the 24-inch, and I'm getting great numbers. I love the arc and a bolt gun. I think it's pre-tuned for even for somebody going into comps. But I think because of the loads that are out there and the variety, I think the arc world is great. Even if it is 22, 6, 338, I think that arc infrastructure is every bit as um, you know, I'm trying to think of the word, but is like established like a PRC. The PRC world is established. The Creedmoor world is established. I have played with CGS. I like the CGS guys. I just never got a CGS suppressor. Um, and I've been around them all a bunch, and I don't know why. I've just never made a phone call and got a CGS. Even B&T. Um, at 22, man, that seems a little 2680 with a 108. Yeah, I'm 2780 out of a 24. I'm light at 2780 with a 24-inch 108s. So you're 200 feet per second with 2 inches, so 100 feet per inch. But yeah, that's weird. He's saying he's 2680 with a KGM can with a box of 108s. 108s, I'm 2780 ish, 2775 with the 108s out of a 24-inch barrel. Yeah, well, B&T's called me because somebody I know, and they they've called me several times, and they're supposed to be sending me a gift pack of their suppressors. Talking CGS and stuff. Like I said, I've talked to them several times and just never did anything. And then like B&T calls and just called recently, and they're like, "Hey, we're doing our 3D and we're in a point, and we want to send you a gift bag of suppressors." Because they were even at one point until they changed something, we're going to send their bolt guns over. They have that one shorty little guy, and then they have a bigger guy. Um, so yeah, there was some I've talked to B&T more than I've talked to CGS, which is weird. So I'm with you on that. But there's all kinds of stuff happening. Are you guys like technically supposed to be at work and you're like watching me on the live and stuff? Because I'm in the middle of the day, it's lunch, it's going on. Oh my goodness. What a pain. Hang on. Was there, and then like let me check one thing for a PayPal. I haven't gotten, oh maybe I did. Uh nope. I haven't got an email. All right, I was just checking to see if they're asking me if I got an email. No. Who's the PTR? Is that PTR that Arkin one? Is that the PTR that you're talking? The Arkin part of the one that was at SHOT Show? That's the little bit of everything? Because it's like so crazy. Everybody's 3D. Although, the interesting thing, and I mentioned this before, at SHOT Show, because like everything's 3D printed for cans. Everybody, the 3D printing is everywhere. Oh, the HK. Oh, okay, okay. Um, and so everybody's printing the 3D cans. And when I was at SHOT Show at the Recon Sniper Party, a lot of those guys are still work for the government. And one of the guys who knew me, he was like, "Hey, I do this for the government, and we're looking at 3D cans, and we're doing this and we're doing that." And he told me their 3D cans are really dirty, and they want guys who use them to clean them because that gas and carbon buildup, and they had said in the past with ARs and suppressors that they poisoned people with the gas. And now they don't want to do that. And so there's a lot of the lockups and things and that, but they're saying the 3D printed ones are not good because they can't smooth them out and not make them porous. So they basically become this carbon fiber porous poison sponge. And so you're sponging up all the poison with the porous carbon fiber or the printing, the porous printing material that you use. So it's weird. Yeah, and then in the buildup, and the government don't want the buildup. They're basically saying that's a poison sponge. And if something happens or the buildup gets to a point and now you're blowing gas back, you're poisoning the user. And so that was the issue with the old systems with gas blowback. Now, new systems, it's the porosity in the absorption of the poison material. And so, yeah, there's concern, like, what do we do? We like it, but we don't, you know? So it's a question, and that's they don't have an answer yet. So crazy. But all right, guys, I'm gonna jump off. I'm gonna go down. The girl's got the smoker going. We bought up the new grill and all the stuff, but I'm gonna take off. Oh yeah, I have the Able brakes. I've been running it for a little over a month. The Able can is nice. With the brake is even nicer. We've been running alongside the Thunder Beasts. I have the recoil reducing. Chris has the recoil reducing, and we both have Ables with the brakes on them. We love the Ables, love the brakes. Yeah, guys, thanks a lot. I'm gonna take off and head down. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of it. Appreciate you. Podcast people have already been tuned off, so I got them. But really appreciate it all and love the conversation with you guys. Have a great afternoon. Have a great week. And I'll talk to you tomorrow night. I'll probably be on. I don't know if Chris might be in the middle of the woods somewhere or at Burning Man. So I don't know if Chris will be on tomorrow. But we'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.